I'm Josh Light with PoliticIt.com here in Nashville, Tennessee with Shaun Crowell. He's running for Senate as Libertarian candidate. How are you doing today?
Doing great, thank you.
So, Shaun, tell us the big differences between you and your competitors in this race.
Well, I'm running as a conservative independent who's been selected by the Libertarian Party unanimously back in February. And so, I really tell everybody that we don't have any conservatives in the race for U.S. Senate here in Tennessee. The Democrat has been disavowed by his own party, and the Republican, who is Senator Bob Corker, the incumbent, has not been conservative. He's one of somebody that we call a rhino, Republican in name only, and his voting record proves that.
Talk about your experience and how it's prepared you to be the senator.
Well, I think that I've always been involved in politics. I've never run for any political office, but I've always kept up with news and what was going on. And I became energized in 2008, like a lot of people did. We saw the big banker bailout, or TARP, or it's also called the Emergency Economic Stabilization Act. But that really is what launched me into thinking about running for office, and then I made the declaration of last year to run for office.
And you've been really critical of your opponent's voting record. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, Bob Corker voted for the big banker bailout in 2008. They gave $700 billion of my money, your money. When you have kids, your kids' money. Do you have kids?
No.
No kids? All right. And my grandkids' money to the big failed banks and insurance companies. And I think that really sent a shockwave through America because I have always voted conservative, and the president that was in office, George W. Bush, had said, we need this. The people were saying no. Bob Corker, who was supposed to be conservative senator from Tennessee, we were sending him emails, we were phone calling him, saying don't vote for this, and he voted for it. And that's when I knew I had taxation without representation, and we needed to make a change and do something about it. Bob Corker also not only voted for that, but 2 years later, we sent a bill through the Senate, U.S. Senate, to audit the Federal Reserve Bank, and he voted to not audit the Federal Reserve Bank. Yet he sits on the Senate Banking Committee and is supposed to bring transparency to the voters about how the banking system's working, and instead he voted to keep our money that he spent in 2008 a secret from us by voting to not audit the Federal Reserve. And then last year he voted for the National Defense Authorization Act, which says in sections 1021 and 1022 that any U.S. citizen that commits a belligerent act can be arrested by our military, held indefinitely, without a trial, without a lawyer, without a phone call. This kind of legislation attacks our Constitution. It attacks our Bill of Rights. It is dangerous, and Bob Corker voted for it. Barack Obama signed it into law at the beginning of the year, and it's a tragedy. And the problem here is Bob Corker claims to be conservative. He's agreed with big government, Barack Obama, 61% of the time. He has voted against the U.S. Constitution, Bob Corker has, 40% of the time, the last 6 years. So he is not a conservative. He's not even a constitutionalist. Our founders worked hard on that document, and this is a republic form of government. I stand on that document, and I think we need to have the Constitution as our mandate. And if you vote against that, you need to be out of office, and Bob Corker needs to be out of office.
What's wrong with our economy right now, and how do we fix it?
Well, that's a great question. The big thing is, and where a lot of libertarians stand and where I stand and what I love about the Libertarian Party is economic policy, monetary policy. And the big thing is, let's get government smaller. Make it smaller so it's not a burden to the taxpayers. How do we do that? We're going to have to do some things like repeal Obamacare. It has to be the first thing. Obamacare is socialism. It's big government at its worst, and it will economically destroy this country if we allow it to come to full fruition. So we have to repeal Obamacare. That's the first thing. The second thing is we have to look at what caused the subprime mortgage debacle in 2008 that started our economy to crash, that started the banker bailout. And what happened was in 1999, Graham, Leach, and Bliley, 3 Republican congressmen, formed the Graham-Leach-Bliley Act of 1999. And basically what that did is allowed investment banks and commercial banks to now marry again. They had been divorced prior to that for 66 years because of the Glass-Steagall Act after the Great Depression in 1933. So then what this does is it allows banks to do fraudulent activity when they start lending. So basically, if you breathe and you wanted a house, you got a 100% loan-to-value mortgage backed by the federal government. Well, a lot of these people were never going to pay these loans. They were bad credit risks. The banks had no risk on their own because of this Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act. These were 3 Republican congressmen, and then who was our president in 1999? Bill Clinton. So you had Democrat, you had Republicans agreeing. It was bipartisan effort. And I tell anybody, anything bipartisan in Washington, you better get very concerned because it's going to hurt the people. So we had this bipartisan effort. It created this act. Banks started giving loans fraudulently, really, because these people were not going to pay it back. And then what happened 9 years later is our economy went right back into the ground. It wrecked because we had a massive default. So I would repeal Gramm-Leach-Bliley because it's still on the books. So we got to get it off the books. I also would repeal Sarbanes-Oxley. Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002 destroys initial public offerings, IPOs. So small and medium-sized businesses wanting to go public and expand into the free market system and get bigger through capital investment can't do that now because of strict accounting principles that they're scared of. So IPOs have gone down since then. It's destroyed our economy. And also the Dodd-Frank Act has been horrible on small and medium-sized banks. And so now what you do and what the government has done historically is they pick winners and losers in the marketplace, and it's created a huge federal government, and we need to get the federal government smaller, and the best way to do that is start repealing all of these acts.
And what are you doing to improve your IT score?
So my IT score that y'all want to know about, I think we're doing a great job with it. I have got a full-time social media coordinator who's got me on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest. All the ladies love Pinterest. So anyway, we're doing good with that. I mean, it's growing. It's obviously a grassroots movement. You know, I'm a veterinarian by training. I'm not a politician, but I've jumped into the political scene. And we've got some great people working with us to expand our digital footprint.
And how's your campaign going right now?
So the campaign's going great. We've actually, people look at how much money you've raised as far as what your viability is as a candidate. There are 9 people now running for U.S. Senate in the state of Tennessee, Bob Corker being one of them and myself. And we have out-fundraised the Democrat and 6 other independents put together. So, you know, we're doing pretty good. We're running number 2 to Corker. Obviously, Corker is the most well-funded candidate outside of the presidency running for re-election. So it's going to be an uphill battle. But I always say I believe in a God of miracles, and he's still in the miracle business.
Well, thanks for meeting with us today.
Yes. Thank you, sir.